What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me here, of course, Craig Mish. It's time to get down and dirty. Craig, how are you? What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard.
For the weekend. It was interesting week. We had a game on Thursday night in the NFL, and we talked about earlier in the week, and we mentioned maybe the Bengals would win that one. So I'm happy that we kind of got one right, although it wasn't a real pick. And then we have the other things going on in life. We had the Jewish New Year and Rosh Hashanah, so happy Jewish New Year to everyone. And then, of course, the most important thing, and I know people probably aren't watching from that area, but I've been through so many of these hurricanes in the past, and my heart goes out to everyone in North Carolina who is going through that. It is just one of those things in life where we're sitting here just doing everything that we're doing, and these people are like fighting to not flood their house and trying to figure out where they're going to live. So I just wanted to mention that at the top. But a lot of games canceled, Howard, in college football this week, so a little bit of a lighter schedule as we talked about. And I think that it's going to be an interesting card, both in college and pro. We've narrowed down our super contest picks. We talked about it Tuesday. We had a really good start, 3 wins, 1 push, 1 tie. And in terms of just the straight wagering against the spread, it was 4 wins and 1 tie, or 1 loss. So it would have been 4-1 overall because the Denver point spread changed as the week went on. So made some recommendations earlier in the week. I've had some games that we're going to look at today, different than the ones that we talked about on Tuesday. And in fact, the one thing that I want to incorporate is mentioning 2 things today, especially in the college picks. First of all, as you can read on Wager Alarm, we broke down some different ways that you can handicap college football. If things aren't broken, don't fix it. If you feel like you have an edge on a certain team or a certain conference, you should ride that wave. Because if you're watching those games and you understand what's happening in those games and you're getting those games right, why would you change and go outside of your comfort zone? So one of those games will represent that. And then the other thing that happens this time of the year is that Las Vegas, while they're now starting to adjust the performance of college football teams because they have some data, the totals are fluctuating a little bit. So we'll have some totals on the board today in college football as well, and then we'll do the super contest.
Love it. Absolutely love it. No question about it. All right. Well, I mean, let's just dive right in. I'm with you on the shout outs to everybody. I'll tell you, just give you a quick funny story here. So in the chat room over at Fantasy Alarm, there was somebody asking a start sit question on a Tuesday. And I said, you got to wait for all this information and the weather and blah, blah, blah. Did you not? And he actually sent a message back to me saying that it's funny I should say the weather. He's a cop in North Carolina. Needs to set his lineup because he's, going to be working the entire time. And they're all just kind of hunkering down. So I said to him, I said, you send me an email, proof of life or, proof of whatever. And, I'll give you my cell number and I'll text you your lineup order and everything like that. And we went through it. Turns out he's playing his brother who lives in Texas and is like sipping margaritas while his brother's like in it. So
a lot of flooding there. Last year, it was 1 year ago and 6 days. My family and I left South Florida and we went to Orlando. And we stayed on one of the Disney World hotel properties because they were letting people in for people who were trying to escape the hurricane. Normal 3-hour drive to Orlando, 3.5, took us 7.5 hours because of the traffic. And then we got there and we were there for 6 days, 5 nights and 6 days through week 1 of college football in the NFL. Just basically in the hotel room watching, the one game they give you on TV, trying to get some internet on my computer. So, I've been through these before, and in South Florida, that's like the one really bad thing about living here are the hurricanes every year. So definitely, hopefully everybody is safe from that. But the video certainly of all the flooding is tough to watch. So, but yeah, college football, I got 3 games, so we can kind of get into them. You want to start with that?
Yeah, I definitely want to start with that because 2 of the picks we're talking about the totals, the over-unders.
We're going to do totals this week. Yeah.
So let's do it. And I think it's good pick.
Yeah, and I think it's good to educate people a little bit that, and so far we've talked about it. We've given away 4 picks on Wager Alarm on the live stream. We've hit 3. So I thought, and look, there's some people who are going to bet these. There's some people who are just trying to educate themselves because gambling in some states is now legal for the first time. And maybe this is a good educational piece for next year, where I think that out of the 52 states, we're probably going to have 20 places legal, maybe even in California, Howard, where you live too. I think that's a possibility. So California seems to be pretty liberal with that. But we'll see. And some of these picks maybe you want to wager on. Some of these picks, obviously, you can go to Wager Alarm and pick and get your picks there. But these are some of the ones that I've honed in on this week for one reason or another. We talked about familiarity. Well, last week one of the picks we had was Arizona State. Okay, Arizona State playing at home last week against Michigan State. Well, given the fact that we gave it out here on the live stream, I had a little bit more interest in watching that game because I thought, well, let's put my money where my mouth is on that game. And Arizona State won the game outright. But honestly, they did not really look good offensively. It was a defensive game and not a game that Herm Edwards' offense can hang their hat on. I told you about their quarterback, Manny Wilkins, still hasn't really, I don't think, has hit his stride yet. And on the flip side, this is a team that they're playing in San Diego State that looks like a mess early on in the season. On defense right now, the Aztecs are averaging giving up just 1 yard per carry on the ground. Now, remember who San Diego State's running back was last year. They always have these great running backs. Rashad Penny was their running back last year. He's gone, obviously, in Seattle now. They don't have a guy like him now, like Donnell Pumphrey, like him, like Marshall Faulk. This is like running back you at San Diego State. They don't have that guy this year. Backup quarterback starting for them. Arizona State's offense hasn't looked great either. So, kind of the way that I'm looking at this is a very similar game to the one that ASU Howard played last week against Michigan State. I think it's going to be like the same game, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Arizona State's going to win because right now they're at the highest point they've been in a long time. So the total in this one is 48.5. I see a game that is 16-13, 20-17, 24-20, maybe at the most. So I'm going to go under for pick one, 48.5 on Arizona State, San Diego State. That'll be the first one we give out tonight.
Beautiful. Absolutely love it. Couldn't agree more. Let's keep it rolling then, because this next one here, North Texas at Arkansas. And I got to tell you, man,
where the bleep did you pull this one from is usually what happens with this one.
Well, you know what? No, but see, the thing is that when I see what the over-under is, like that doesn't surprise me that you pull this one here. 68.
68's a high number. It's not the highest one on the board.
No, okay. Yeah, was it like
72's
on the board?
Alabama, Mississippi is I believe the highest one. There may have been one more in the I got to check that. I'm not sure if that's the highest one. Okay, so let's talk about this. North Texas, Arkansas. Two teams that if you're not familiar with, we'll start with Arkansas. Arkansas had Brett Bielema as their coach last year. They were a disaster under him in their final year. They looked pretty good in week one, and then last week their defense fell apart completely against a very bad Colorado State team, and they lost the game. I believe they were outscored 24-0 or something like that in the second half. Really ugly. North Texas, Howard, their quarterback, Mason Fine, is going to be like a top 10 pick. And how we talked about Rosen, Darnold, Baker Mayfield. And this guy, Mason Fine, is going to be in that conversation. He's going to be in the first round of the NFL draft next year. He's averaging 430 yards a game this year passing. They're 2-0, North Texas. They were a good team last year, too. They brought a lot of players back. Arkansas, they can't stop the pass at all. And North Texas last year, among all FBS teams, was at the bottom of stopping the run. So I don't think either of these two teams are going to stop each other at all. North Texas, 46 points in week one. That's by themselves. 58 points in week two. Last year, they played in the bowl game, and there was a total, and this is going back the third game, between them and Troy, 80 points in that one. So I just see like a 51-37 type game. I mean, North Texas is going to score, I think, 30, 40 points for sure. It's just a matter of how many points Arkansas scores. And by the way, Arkansas is only a 7-point favorite in this one. So I'm going to say about 75, 76 points in this one. This could be the highest scoring game in all of college football this week. I'm going to go, and this one's gone down a little bit. The money's come down. It was 70s and 69, and I'm seeing 68 here a little bit. So fair or not, I'm going to lock this one in at 68. Over Beautiful. 68, North Texas and Arkansas. So that'll be the second pick.
Beautiful. ASU at San Diego State. Take the under 48.5. North Texas at Arkansas. I love this, man. This actually, you know what? And the funny thing is like, you know, Saturdays, I usually like spend the day walking the dogs with the wife. Now I'm like, you know what? This is a little bit more important right now for me.
Yeah,
So this is a game that I'm going to end up looking into.
And those two games are not marquee games, and I think that when you're doing this, you have to really look for any edge you can.
Sure.
And North Texas has been a team that I had some success with last year using a little bit against the spread, and they just fell flat right at the end of the season. But you would never think of them as a team to score a lot of points or even against an SEC team. But Arkansas is not very good. They're carrying over a lot of the players that they had last year. And then again, you're talking about one of the top quarterbacks in the country, arguably, in Mason Fine. So you don't average 400 yards a game and score 2 touchdowns. They're going to score 4 or 5 minimum in this one. So that's the second one. So the third one is more of the marquee game. Now, again, last week we saw USC play against Stanford. And if you watch that game, what was the takeaway? Boy, USC is bad. Like they don't look good at all this year. And look, they lost their quarterback. They lost some other pieces. And their quarterback, JT Daniels, who I think eventually will be good. It took Darnold a couple of years to be good too. He is getting annihilated. He got annihilated last week by Stanford's defense. And here's, I don't always love trends or going to just specific stats, but this is one that's interesting. That USC in their last 7 games as an underdog is 1-6 against the spread when they're an underdog, because they're a favorite a lot of times. But in this one, I don't like it. Texas is a desperate team. They haven't looked good also, by the way. They really need a good performance this week. And so what I'm doing here, the line's 3.5. If you're online, this is one of those buy recommendations where I'm going to buy Texas from -3.5 down to 3.
Okay.
I'll wait for this one until placing the bet until tomorrow with hopes that some money will come in on USC to push the line down to 3. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. So if you're going to make the bet now, you're going to take Texas minus the 3 points. Texas's defense is really good. Bryce Love on the ground. We talked about what he would do on the ground last week against USC for Stanford, yeah. and he did it. And he did it. And Texas is going to do it again. I think that the Longhorns will probably score in the 30 range, and maybe USC puts up 3 touchdowns, 30-21, something like that. Texas will be the third play of the 3.
Beautiful. I love it. -3.5. Buy it down to -3. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. You buy it down today, you buy it down tomorrow. You just want to see if you don't have to buy it down if you don't have to.
Right. But then it goes to 4, and then you're like, man, I could have had it at 3. And there's a huge difference. You don't want to be buying full points online. Then the line goes from laying -115 to win 100 to like -140 to win 100. And then if you lose, it's like you lost a play and a half. Right, so there is a cutoff point for me with that. But those are the 3 plays: the under in Arizona State and San Diego State. Then we have the over in North Texas, Arkansas, and the final play will be Texas -3.5. And if it lands on 3, we'll remind you that you should have bought that half point.
We will be the first to remind you that you should have done it. I got no problem doing that. None whatsoever. Guys, you want to play FanDuel with the Fantasy Alarm team? That's right. Sister site. Is it our sister site here? Yeah. Or are we the brother site? I don't even know. Either way, Fantasy Alarm. Play versus the Fantasy Alarm team this weekend. Simple $10 double up. Double your money. Play with FA Nation. Get bragging rights. See your name above, mine, Craig's, John and Pemba's. How about somebody like that? Play with the whole crew. Brandon Marianne Lee, Rick Wolf, Glenn Colton, Don Murtha, more. So there it is. FantasyAlarm.com/FD contest. Now, let's get to the meat. Let's get to the main course here, baby. Let's start talking a little NFL. We already talked about yesterday's game. Let's talk about what you want to just dive into our super contest picks?
Well, before we do that, let me go over some of the things that have happened since we've been here on Tuesday, some of the lines that are on the move. So the difference between playing an early line early in the week as opposed to now. Okay, so for example, the Rams, okay? If you thought the Rams were going to crush the Cardinals, then you should have bet that Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, maybe last night, and now it's -13. Like this line probably is going to go to 2 touchdowns before the game starts. The Rams, for a lot of people's power ratings, Howard, look like potentially a top 2 or 3 team in the NFL. The Cardinals, you could make the case that outside of the Bills, may be the worst team in the NFL. It's certainly possible.
Absolutely.
And usually when two teams play like this, you could see a line of 14 or 15 points. So there was some value taking the Rams earlier in the week. I don't see it anymore. We're going to leave them out for the contest this week. The Jets we talked about earlier in the week, it was an even line. Monday they went nuts. Now they're -3, 2.5. Money coming in late this week on the Browns. And I guess there's just not a lot of faith in the Saints. A lot of people lost that suicide pool last week. They don't want to go with the Saints again. I see some spots where it's 7.5. The super contest line is not that. It's higher. But right now, you could even buy a half point, get the Saints at -7. No one has any faith in the Raiders. All the public money is coming in on Denver. And also one total. The total in that Arizona-Rams game with the line going up with the Rams, the total is coming down. I'm supposing, Howard, that there's a lot of figuring here that if the Rams go up 14-0, they pull the plug on Bradford and they put in Josh Rosen. And then I guess based on what we saw with Buffalo last week, where they did the same thing, they pulled Peterman and they pulled in Allen and he did nothing. So I guess that's like the bettors are reasoning the same way. Okay, well, Bradford may be the better option to get points, not Rosen in this one. And so that total went from like 47 down to 45. So a 2-point swing there. Not a lot of value taking the under at this point. Maybe some people feel that the final score will be like 28-6 or something like that. It certainly could be. Up in the air things, you'll have to catch me up if I missed anything today. Aaron Rodgers, the line right now is even on the super contest. Minnesota's a huge favorite. I really like Minnesota this week. I really do. But I don't like them laying 7 on the road. But I like Minnesota right now +1. That's a great pick. So we had to stay away from that one. Marcus Mariota against Houston, a line that's gone back and forth a ton. And I know, Howard, there was some update with that today. I think he is going to play some.
Yeah, they're going to. They've already come out and said, Mike Vrabel, head coach, said they're going to both play. You're going to see Mariota. You're going to see Vrabel. You're going to see Gabbert, Blaine Gabbert coming in on this. Again, the comment I made to you right before we started the live stream, one of the reasons why I like this game so much in the super contest, it's a pick 'em. The line right now is Texans -3 is the last I saw on that. But the offensive tackles, both starting tackles for the Titans, they're gone. They're out for the week. Taylor Lewan and Conklin, James Conklin, and that's going to have a very, very significant impact on this. I even think that the line could move more if it wasn't for the fact that maybe the Texans' offensive line is just as bad now without 2 injuries like the Titans are dealing with.
Yeah, so that'll be the first game that we'll pick in the super contest. They're number 11 on the board. And look, some of this is true. Even though, and it does look like a really easy win for the Texans, which makes me get nervous about it. The truth is that where is there a better value play from a Wednesday line to a Friday night line than the Texans? The answer is no, because that's a 3-point swing there. Now the other play would be Minnesota, right? Like Minnesota is laying 7 in the super contest, 7 points. I had to text somebody and ask, is this the right line? So if Aaron Rodgers plays, or you think he's going to play, maybe you take Green Bay in this one. But I just want to stay away from that game entirely because I really like Minnesota. I think Minnesota's going to the Super Bowl, so we didn't pick them. So pick one of the super contests. We'll take Houston, and all they got to do is win by 1. They just got to win by 1 for us to get our first win there. Lock it in.
Lock it in. I'm definitely locking it in. And, folks, remember, who you're betting on, just as important as who you're betting with. That's why we partnered with MyBookie.ag. They're your best bet this season. They've been in business for years. Great reviews online. Mobile site, super easy to use. Visit fantasyalarm.com/mybookie. Use the promo code ALARM. And MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar. fantasyalarm.com/mybookie. Promo code ALARM. You play, you win, you get paid. Which is what we're going to do, baby, because I'm feeling good about the super contest here. I'm feeling good. I like this Texans pick to start it off. Let's go to the next game here. Looks like we're banking on a little Andrew Luck magic going on here. Fitz magic for the Bucks last week that we took. We need a little luck magic this week here, taking the Colts +6.
Yeah, it's going to be this is going to be a very heavily picked game too. I think a lot of people are going to take the Colts, so naturally the Redskins will win 41-0. But But that being said, how in the world could you justify Washington being 6-point favorites over anyone? Really? Like, have you not watched this team? I mean, all of a sudden now, because of Adrian Peterson and Alex Smith over Cousins, that makes them that much better? Look, the Colts did not look great last week. I think, and I'm sure you think the same, they're not going to be able to run the ball all year. I don't care if it's Marlon Mack or Wilkins or Naheem, whoever. I don't think they're going to be able to run at all. I think it's going to be a major problem for them. And that means Luck is going to probably have to throw the ball 50 times every game. And you know what? He looked pretty good doing it last week. So here's one of those games where the Colts are going to have a hard time with their defense. Their defense is going to be on the field a lot because they're not going to be able to take time off. They're not going to be able to run. But I agree with you on this one with the Colts. I could see them winning the game outright. I can't take the Redskins. I can't imagine the Redskins being a touchdown favorite over anyone. Are they that good because they crushed the Cardinals last week?
And that's the thing. Like, I know everybody's riding high on the Adrian Peterson thing. I look at what Alex Smith's weapons. He's got Jordan Reed at tight end. He's got Jamison Crowder coming out of the slot. The outside receivers are garbage, like garbage. So, I mean, you're not going to have to sit there and worry too much about having the safeties swing over. The safeties are going to be able to pinch in, take care of the middle of the field a lot more, which then shuts down Reed and Crowder. So, no, I don't really understand why they're such a heavy favorite. Despite how bad the Colts secondary is, they're really not matching up against major weapons here. Paul Richardson and Josh Doctson, to me, are a little on the trashy side.
Well, if the narrative plays out like Thursday night, which is as great as Baltimore looked against Buffalo, they looked equally bad against the Bengals last night. So maybe this is one of those situations. If you told me the Colts rushed for 85 yards in this game, I think they win the game outright. I just have no confidence in that offensive line on the ground. And look, maybe Marlon Mack being back will help things. Maybe. I'm not that confident in that, but you have to believe an underdog can win a game if it's 7 points or less, and I do. I think the Colts have a chance to win this game. Inevitably, Washington probably will win, but hopefully it's tied in the fourth, and we can pull that one out. So
just keep it close, baby.
That's all we need in this one. So pick number 2 will be the Colts. They're number 4 on the Super Contest board. Pick number 3 for us is also a 1 o'clock Eastern game, 10 a.m. Pacific. And, boy, the line is better now than what it is here. But I don't know that it'll matter. I think that so many people, Howard, are going off the Saints because of last week. And I think it was just right place, right time for Tampa, wrong place, wrong time for the Saints. I think they crushed the Browns, man. I think the Browns are going to get mauled by the Saints. I don't think it's going to be close. And I think that everything that we thought was going to happen last week happens this week. Cleveland, they got 5 turnovers against the Steelers and didn't win. You kidding me?
Yeah, exactly.
You think Drew Brees is going to turn this thing over 5 times against Cleveland this week? This was an easy one for me, man. Saints minus 8.5 all day.
And I love doing that, man. I love going back to a team that everybody was off. In 2 of my survivor pools, in one, like 62% of the field, Saints and Steelers, and tie equals a loss in this pool.
Yeah.
So Saints and Steelers, and then the other survivor pool, like 52% of the field took the Saints. I'm like, ooh, okay, I love it. So I like going back to the well here as well. I agree with everything that you've said. Cleveland, they're a work in progress. Their one really good weapon through the air is Josh Gordon, and he's going to be shadowed by Marshawn Lattimore. And this defense just isn't going to be able to keep pace with this offense. It's not. If James Conner is going to bust them up for 130 yards, what's Alvin Kamara going to do to them?
And think about this for a second. Close your eyes and dream. It's week 1 of the NFL season. We haven't seen anything from last week. Nothing. And Cleveland is at New Orleans week 1 of the NFL. What's the line? 15, 16, 17? It's only 8.5.
I know. I love
it. What an overreaction, like crazy to last week. I mean, come on. Again, think about that. Your opening week of the NFL, Cleveland coming off a winless season, the Saints coming off a playoff. The line is 2 touchdowns for sure, and you're only laying 8.5 in this game. You got to take New Orleans. And look, if they screw us like they screwed everybody else last week, okay, lesson learned. But you gotta try. You gotta go with the overreaction. So our third play on the Super Contest will be Saints minus 8.5. They're pick number 19.
Yep, love it. Fourth pick we're going to travel to a little Sunday night football.
Yeah, my favorite pick probably of all of them. Yeah.
Is it? Good. Talk to me here. We're taking
so.
the Giants +3. You give me the reasons why. I mean, I know the reasons why.
Yeah, I just don't think Dallas is a very good football team, and you know, they're giving them basically no home field advantage -3. Every team at home gets an automatic -3 unless you're bad, and then it's nothing. Giants, I thought, looked good last week against Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. The Jaguars defense is still as formidable as any in the NFL, and they did a good job closing out that game in the end, and you just got to give them credit. I thought there were some missed opportunities for the Giants. I think Barkley is a stud. Beckham, remember, was hurt last year. He is healthy. Shepard looked good, too. They looked better blocking for Eli Manning, and Dallas looked awful. They looked terrible. They only came alive in the end when they were down by a lot. I mean, I don't see how Dallas deserves to be 3-point favorites in this one on Sunday night. It'll probably be close. This will probably be a sweat it type game, but I think in the end the Giants win. And I don't think they should be the underdogs in this game. They had a ton of injuries last year, terrible coaching, and you're still giving me points? I'm taking the Giants.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I agree with you. Dallas is definitely atrocious. Definitely atrocious.
They're gonna look. Dallas still is gonna win their 5-6 games, but should they be favorites over anyone this year?
No. And that makes no sense to me whatsoever. It really doesn't. I think that the Giants' run defense is strong enough to withstand or at least stack the box against Zeke, and have their own passing game. The secondary for the Cowboys really not good. Like really not good. It's one of the worst ranked secondaries coming into the season, and if you watch them play last week, I mean, they were atrocious. So yes,
Beckham will have 2 or 3 touchdowns. He'll have like an AJ Green game this week. I like getting points when I think that the other team is better and it doesn't make sense. And I think this may be the final adjustment on Dallas this week for you guys who are betting and for odds makers. Like if they lose, like I think they will, to the Giants, this is the last time that you're going to be able to get value going against Dallas. They will get recognized and they'll get exposed, I think, this week. So that's pick number 4. We'll go with, I don't have the number here in front of me, but we'll go with the Giants.
The Giants are number 30.
All right.
+3.
You're sending the text, not me on that, so that's good. So rare. It's rare for me to go to a Sunday night and a Monday night with this. We're going to be having to wait for Sunday and Monday to see this play out, but. On wageralarm.com, if you looked at the prop bets before the season, I released 3 of them. One was Seattle under their season win total. The other one was Buffalo under theirs, and the other one was the Bears. So this is over. So this is a critical game for me. I got the Bears over, and I got Seattle under, and I'm going to play right into that. I wish the line was 3 and not 3.5. If you're going to bet this game, you wait. You wait until Monday. This is going to go to 3. I don't think this is going to go up. I think there'll be some love on Seattle's side. I can't understand anyone who could go on radio or television and point to conviction for Seattle. How? How is it possible? I honestly came away from the game last week against Denver liking Denver a lot less. I didn't think Denver played well enough against. They should have killed Seattle last week. Now Seattle's lost Baldwin. That was always Russell Wilson's guy. Now they're counting on Brandon Marshall all of a sudden here in this game. Offensively, defensively, Earl Watson. Was it Earl? No. Who am I thinking? Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas.
A Seattle guy, but an NBA. Earl Thomas picked off Keenum, ran it back for a touchdown. Okay. I mean, that's how they covered that game, basically, on an interception, pick 6 for a touchdown. Trubisky certainly could do the same thing. I think that's a tough atmosphere. Bears at home. Playing on Monday night, a revived team, Khalil Mack. I think the blood is in the water for Seattle. I don't see them as a good team this year. I hate it that it's 3.5. Man, I wish we could get rid of that hook because if the game ends up being 23-20, we lose. But that being said, Howard, I think we got to go with the Bears on Monday night.
I like the option here also. You got to figure with what Chicago's done with their defense. And yeah, you say Khalil Mack. Talk about the fact that Seattle's offensive line is like a slice of Swiss cheese. Like boom, you just drive a boat through that offensive line. So I'm definitely in on that.
This way, he runs that way, he throws it up in the air, and all of a sudden there's Baldwin, right? Like that's what the past has been. He's running for his life. He just throws it up, and somehow Doug Baldwin's there, and and catches it. And Denver had a big defensive breakdown in that game last week too. Their two defensive backs got mixed up, and then Lockett caught a touchdown. Where are the weapons on Seattle? Will Dissly? Like where is Jimmy Graham, and where is Baldwin or someone on the other side?
There's literally nobody there. You've got Brandon Marshall and Tyler Lockett on the outside. Whoever's going to cover the slot. The tight end, either Nick Vannett or Will Dissly. No, it's terrible. And also the thing about it that I do like that also favors the Bears is the defensive line, the run defense. The linebackers, there's no push in the middle of that line on defense there. And you throw Jordan Howard and just let him pound. And it's going to just open things up for Trubisky more. Yeah, I'm with you. There's a turning point for the Bears.
There's no Aaron Rodgers. You got to give Russell Wilson a ton of credit. He's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But the weapons aren't there. I think he'll be running for his life in this game. My fear is some sort of backdoor type cover where the line ends up going down to 3. But again, when do you have a team that is 500 or better? And let's assume the Bears are close to a 500 team, maybe not that great, but like teetering on that 500 mark, that are only going to be 3.5-point favorites in their home debut on a Monday night.
Right.
I mean, you got to play some of that narrative in, I think, to this game, and this could send Seattle. This would put Seattle in a really, really bad spot if they end up winning this week. But injuries and circumstance, I gotta go with the home team. So our final pick on a Monday night, we'll be waiting this thing out, and then Tuesday we'll talk about it.
Beautiful, I love it. All right, just to wrap it up, just to get you guys all set and squared away here. College. Arizona State at San Diego State. We're taking that under at 48.5. North Texas at Arkansas. Taking that over at 68. Texas -3 against USC. -3.5 actually. -3.5 on that. And then our picks for the Super Contest. Week 2 of the NFL. We're taking number 4, the Colts at +6. We were taking number 11, the Texans. That's a pick 'em. We are taking 19. That's the Saints over the Browns, 8.5. And then we're going into the old the Sunday night. We're taking the Giants. Number 30, the Giants at +3. And then number 31, Monday Night Football, Bears laying 3.5 against the Seahawks. I feel like it's a series of winners here, Craig.
I hope so. A couple other games just to mention. Early in the week, we talked about maybe using the Lions. And as a big overreaction. I'm a little bit off that now. I'm a little concerned because I was not aware Tuesday. The story came out Wednesday about how the play calling, all the players knew the play calls from the Jets. They came out Wednesday when they went in the locker room and started talking about that. By the way, why would the Jets even say that? Why would they tell anybody that they knew the signals? Like, don't you just keep that quiet? Weird that they said that. So that had me thinking a little bit, boy, or if they're vulnerable to that, I may want to take a step back. So I'm kind of leaning the other side now, a little towards San Francisco, but I'm staying away, so changed my mind there. The other game that was a little bit interesting to me was the Steelers at home, only on this at -4. They're now up to -5. Look, I don't know what Patrick Mahomes is. He looked great. Don't get me wrong. But the Steelers only a small favorite against a team they've dominated for years at home. I think there's an overreaction here coming that. So the Steelers were in my discussion of conversation too, but I think that we hit on the 5 games that I'm comfortable with, and that's it. Survivor pool wise, I would take the Rams. Last week I said take the Ravens. That was easy. May even think about going to the Chargers this week against Buffalo. I think Buffalo is one of the worst teams we've seen in a decade. But Cardinals at home. Rams at home. The Cardinals are not winning that game. They are not winning that game. You can't use the Rams again in the Survivor pool if you use them this week, but that's what everyone thought last week with the Saints. You got to win. You got to move on. So
yeah,
that's it.
I've got a couple of interesting, Survivor picks, but I'm with you there. As far as like, I dig it. I mean, listen, the Rams is like the no-brainer. That's like the layup.
You just got to do it and move on and get to week 3. You got to do it. I mean, you can't not do it because you learned your lesson a little bit if you took the Saints last week. Don't overthink it. You start to prepare in Survivor pools in the future once you get through like 4 or 5 weeks. Then you start to look at it. But in week 2, you just got to play the chalk and get yourself into the next week.
There you go. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the Wager Alarm live stream. We'll check back with you guys on Tuesday where we go over the results of all the things that we won on this week. So I'm Howard Bender. This is Craig Mish. We'll talk to you guys next time.